Okay, in this video, I'm going to take you guys through some of my go-to training tips and exercises which I have used to grow my biceps and to grow my forearms. I want to start off by saying that if you are struggling to grow your arms in general, you feel like they're not getting hit with enough intensity, then I would highly recommend that you dedicate a day to just training arms, to just focusing on bicep, tricep, and forearm work if you want. You know, upper lower splits, push-pull leg splits, they're great. But if you are a person who struggles to grow their arms, if you have longer limbs, then obviously it makes sense to train your arms with more volume and more frequency throughout your week. So a great way to do that is by implementing a arms day in your split. So that's my first tip when trying to grow bigger biceps and bigger forearms. Okay, so let me come on to my first movement, which has improved my biceps, and that is the easy bar cable curl. So you can either take a narrow grip or a wider grip. Personally, I prefer the wider grip. Put a lot of emphasis on the negative when training your biceps. Really slow down and feel the stretch at the bottom of the rep. Fully contract your bicep and bring it all the way up so that your elbow comes out a bit to target the long head of your bicep. So here I typically do, 2 sets of 10 to 15 reps. After I fail on my last set, I'll sometimes do these things called iso holds. I'll hold the contracted position and I'll try aim to hold it for 10 seconds, keeping tension on the bicep. That is another intensity technique which you can use when training your biceps to generate hypertrophy. Another way I have brought up my biceps is my next movement, single arm cable curls, leaning away from the cable stack. Slow and controlled reps, fully extending and contracting your bicep through a full range of motion. You can do these with both arms. You can use standing dumbbells. Another one I like to do is incline curls using a bench. Another one is the classic easy bar curl. You can't go wrong with these, so throw them in there. Another curl variation I've started doing is the drag curl. I feel a great contraction here. These are a really underrated one in my opinion. Drag the weight up in a straight line and squeeze at the top of the rep. But I think if you're struggling to grow your biceps, it's probably because of a mind-muscle connection. So I think you're better off starting with a cable variation. And I would recommend you train single arms so that you can focus your entire attention on the contraction, on creating tension in one arm rather than both. At the end of the day, that is going to improve your mind-muscle connection if you don't have to worry about focusing on both arms and instead just focusing on one. Here, I work my way up with each set. So I'll do a sort of reverse pyramid. First set, I'll do like 6 to 9 reps. Then I do like 10 to 12 on my second. Then on my third, I'll do like 15 to 20. So really trying to hit every rep range to try and generate hypertrophy and to do everything I can really to grow my biceps. And then obviously I do like an intensity set after my last set. So a rest pause or a drop set, taking every set till failure. I see a lot of people saying that do the first couple sets, don't take them till failure, and only take your last set till failure. But what you think is failure is not actually 0 reps in reserve. It's more like 3 reps in reserve. So to maximize chance of muscle growth every time you can, you go until you can't do another rep. What is the harm in doing that? And especially as a natural lifter, if you want to keep progressing, you have to take every set till failure. But that's a side tangent. Let me come back to this movement. Because I've sort of pre-activated my biceps, because they are now warm, I'm better able to feel my biceps engage in my next movement. That's the sort of perk of starting off with cables I found. I'll typically move on to a hammer curl variation. So dumbbell hammer curls or cable rope hammer curls, both of which target your brachialis. Your brachialis is basically a muscle which sits behind your bicep, and if well developed, it's going to essentially push your bicep upwards. So it's going to give you that wider arm look. Okay, so if you want wider or bigger arms, your brachialis is very important to train, and I make sure to train it every single time I'm training my biceps. So again, slow and controlled reps, 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Another great hammer curl variation which I like to do, and probably one of my favorite bicep exercises, is seated hammer curls, curling the weight up with both hands. Really focus on the stretch at the bottom of the rep. I always throw these into a superset as well. So typically after I fail my incline dumbbell curls on the bench, I'll sit up and immediately bang out some hammer curls till failure. So here I'd already be warm because I already have done a curl variation using the cable stack. So I'll do like 1 feeder set and then I'll do a working set till failure. And lastly, to train your bicep in the shortened position to target that short head of the bicep, that bicep peak, you're going to want to do a preacher curl variation, whether that's using a preacher curl machine, an easy bar preacher curl. Spider curls are another great one. So really focus on a contraction here, holding that squeeze at the top of the rep. 2 working sets of 10 to 15, then maybe a rest pause or a drop set after my last set. Another preacher curl variation which I recommend that you try out is the dumbbell preacher curl. You can do these single arm, you can do these both arms. I alternate between the two. Single arm is really good because you can focus on the contraction in just one arm. If you have any muscle imbalances, this is a great one to use. But something I like to do is I use both arms and I press the dumbbells together and I keep them locked in that position through the full range of motion. This creates a lot of tension on the bicep. Another really good exercise for growth. And another thing which I've started doing, another way to tear more muscle fibers, to let more blood into the bicep, is to hold it in the stretched position. I basically extend my arm like this and feel the stretch of my bicep and hold it there for 30 seconds. This is a great finisher and a great way to generate hypertrophy and has allowed me to see more muscle growth in my biceps. But it's important you do these when you're warm and towards the end of the workout. So coming on to the quick bonus of the vid. forearms. Here are some tips that I would say will definitely grow your forearms. First of all, only use wrist straps for your heavy top sets. It's where your forearms are likely to fatigue. For example, on a barbell row when you're working your back, but on your lighter back off sets, I would say try avoid using wrist straps, because whatever movement you do, whether it's a barbell row, whatever movement you do which involves you gripping something, that is going to create tension on your forearms. And over time, as you use a heavier weight, you're progressively overloading your forearms as well. So your forearms are going to grow. So make sure you're only using your wrist straps for heavier sets and try not to use them for your lighter sets. This has allowed me to grow my forearms. So your overall training will kind of grow your forearms. Your hammer curls will grow your forearms. Your brachioradialis, which is this muscle right here, is targeted when you do your hammer curls. And one thing I do is squeezing the rep at the top of the motion and really feeling the contraction in my forearms. You can do some wrist curls. Wrist curls are effective. You're going to see additional muscle growth there. Another one I like to do is the barbell reverse wrist curl. So you're curling the weight up with your forearms and you're holding that squeeze at the top of the motion. These are great for your forearm flexors, so the bottom part of your forearm. Another great exercise I use to grow my forearms are reverse easy bar curls. These isolate the lower bicep and the forearm really well. And there's another way I have built up my skinny arms. You don't need to worry about overtraining your forearms. Just do however many sets you can be bothered to. They recover very quickly. So whatever you can squeeze in your workouts, go ahead. Also, before I go, practice flexing your biceps, bro. In between sets, at home. This is actually a common training method, the FST7 training method, which Hani Rambaud uses with C-Bum and all his other athletes. So practice flexing. The better mind-muscle connection you have, the better results you'll see. So thank you for watching. I hope these tips were helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. If you like this video and you want to see more vids like this, please drop a like. Gonna be coming out with a video very soon. But until then, peace!